Hi guys, Mrs. Alberts here and welcome back to my channel. Let's begin. Right, let's look at your paper 3 Afdeling B formate. Okay, so here's something interesting that I didn't know. So when you look at where I'm pointing, that is an example of your Afdeling B longer transactional text from a paper 2022, I think. You've got 4 options that you can choose from, and you have to write 120 to 150 words. But those 4 are chosen in a specific way. If you look on the other side, you'll see that there's categories. So you've got category A texts, which gives you a list, formele brief, informele brief, brief aan die pers, curriculum vitae, en informele e-pos. So B, you have recensie, koerantberig, tydskriftartikel, and then as you can see, C, dialoog, geskrewe onderhoud. When they make the paper, when they set up the paper, there must be, out of the 4 options, 1 out of each of the category, okay, and then 1 extra. And that could be from any of the categories. So you can have 2 text category A's, 1 B and 1 C, or any other combination. But what is interesting here is it means that you can be sure that you are going to have 1 from each of these categories plus an extra. So I'm going to go through it in category wise so we can look at all the different formats, the mistakes you make, and I'll give you some tips of what to avoid. So for category A, you've got your formal letters, you've got your informal letters or your friendly letter, and then you've got the letter to the press. Now the letter to the press and the formal letter are very similar, so you don't have to stress about trying to study 2 different formats there. You've got your CV, but the CV always accompanies a letter, a cover letter that has to go with it. And then you've got your formal and informal email. So we're going to start with the letter to the press because it's a little bit more difficult than the normal standard formal letter. So what I'm going to do here is we're just going to look at the differences between what a letter to the press would look like versus a letter to a friend versus a normal letter to a business. Okay, so I'm going to do all the letter formats all in one. I'm going to do your formal letter to the press, the formal letter to a business, as well as a friendly letter all in one while looking at this, so I hope you keep up. If it's a letter to the press or a formal letter, normal formal letter to a business, your address and their address. Now that line in between that's open, whether you leave it open or not, it's not going to change much as long as you have your address, their address. Now comes the lines opens that will count marks. You have to leave a line open here. You can start with geachte meneer of mevrou. If it's formal, line open. Both the formal letter to a business as well as a formal letter to the press will have a subject line. It can be capital letters or just underlined. You'll have an introduction, your body, and your conclusion. And both your formal and letter to the press will end with die Iwe and then your name. Okay. Now, the difference between a formal letter and a letter to the press is you are going to have a signature and maybe a pseudonym if it's a letter to the press. If it's just a formal letter, you will have the Iwe, your signature, and your name, or you can even leave out the signature completely. Your friendly letter, what's the difference? Friendly letter does not have this address here. You do not have to say geachte. You can say lieve. You do not have a subject line here at all in a friendly letter, and you do not have to end it off with die Iwe. You can say jou vriend, jou vriendin, jou dochter, jou sister, whatever you want, and then your name at the bottom. No signature and no pseudonym. According to many, the formal, the informal letter, the friendly letter is phasing out slowly, and they are bringing in the email. So the email is going to take over. So you have to be very sure on how your email format looks. Okay, so now note that your email has moved from short, it used to be in the short transactional section, to the longer transactional, so it falls in here. Here are some formats for your informal and your formal emails. Now, don't go be angry at a teacher if they taught you to put a date anywhere. It's fine. The date is optional, but you have to have, like you would have if you open your email, on, which is to RR, which replaces the CC, and the onderwerp, which is the subject. Now, if it's informal, you are going to start with beste or liewe. You're going to leave a line open, do your thing, and you're going to end it with groete of jou vriend. Please note, there is no punctuation with groete or your vriend, and there is no line open. For your formal email, same, everything at the top will be exactly the same, but now look at the words that change. Suddenly, you have geachte instead of liewe, and you have met beste wense en die iwe at the bottom. Okay, a little bit more formal, but that is your format. Please study it and do not write to, CC, and subject. You will lose marks. Difficult one. Guys, if you can avoid doing a CV, I would suggest that you do, because first, you have to do a CV and a cover letter. So let's go and look at that quick. That is everything you'll have to write down. So you'll have to remember all of this plus all of that plus all of that. Okay, so here you'll see, just as I spoke about the previous formal letter, your address, their address, very formal, subject line, introduction, body, conclusion, die iwe, your signature, your name. All of that for one thing, if you can avoid doing the CV. Going to your category B. Category B, you've got a review, a newspaper article, a magazine article. Agenda is when you have minutes of meetings, you have your agenda and then minutes of meetings of a meeting. And then you've got a formal report and Holderblyk, which is a eulogy. I like the recensie. The recensie is something that is easy to do. I like how it is something that you can do on a book. It's something you can do on a movie. You can do something on a restaurant. This is something that you can spend time in learning your formats. So the format for a movie review, for example, you're going to have the title, your director, the genre, and when it was released. You're going to have some main actors. Remember their main names, not the character names. A little bit of a plot storyline, plot summary, but do not give away the ending. What did you like? What didn't you like? And a recommendation at the back. You can have a 5 out of 10, or you can have a star type rating. It doesn't matter, either one of the two. If you look at the book review, it looks very similar. You've got first your name, because you are the person that is going to do the review. The genre, there's your grading, what you would give your star rating. Who's the writer, the publisher, and then the price of the book. Again, plot summary, and then how you felt about it, and then finally your word count at the bottom. If I may steer clear of the newspaper article, I have marked thousands of newspaper articles, and so little of you get it right. It is a difficult thing to do, because not only is it the format, the layout, but it's the words that you need to use. It's the sentence structure. You have to write in leidende vorm. You have to use indirect speech. You have to be very factual, no emotion. It is so difficult. Please, if you can avoid it, avoid it. This is an example of an actual one. So it has the columns. It has the, for example, you have to have your writer. Sometimes it has the place as well under your writer where this article is done, come from. It's difficult. Now look at the one that they have for children. So this is an example of a learner that did this one. You have your heading at the top, who wrote it, the place. Then look at your wording, the way that they are telling the story. It is difficult. Try and steer clear. Your magazine article is very similar to your newspaper article, except You do not have to be so factual. It can be a little bit more storytelling. So, for example, if you look at this is Robert Downey Jr. Huisgenoot 1. It is his life story. There's a little bit of late in the forum, a little bit of his direct speech. There is facts in here, but it's a bit more story, more biography. So you've got a heading, you've got a subheading. There will be maybe an extract out of the article to make it stand out. And then it can be in columns, or there could be pictures, but you don't need to put pictures in the actual writing of paper 3. Okay, so this is an example of a paper 3 version. You'll have your heading, you'll have your name because you are the writer, and you'll have a date. And then your story, you don't have to worry about columns here, but you have to still worry about your paragraphs. You'll see that even though there's no lines open, these are still paragraphs. So please remember, always stick to paragraphs. Okay, so with a report, you have a formal and an informal report. It is official reports that contains detailed information and research or data, I don't know, that you would use to make business decisions. So it's normally for problem solving or to have inspection reports or police reports or safety reports. Okay, so let's go look at an example of what your formal report would look like. So this is an incident report. You will have everything in the first person, you know, your name, the age, your ID number, where you lived, what happened, and that you say that this is true, and then you have to sign it and date it. You can look at this one for a little bit, see how this one is laid out. This is a formal incident report. And this is an informal report, more like something happened at school and you have to report back to the headmaster. Maybe you are an RCL or prefect or whatever you call it. It will have the heading, and then in paragraph 1 you will have the introduction of what it is that you are going to be reporting about, or what is the aim of this report. Second paragraph, it's going to be the who, what, where, when, what happened. And then in 3, a little bit of a explanation of all those things that you said in paragraph 2, and then you take it all together. So if something happened at school and you have to give a report as an RCL, you would say that in number 1, we are going to report back on the meeting that we held with the students to discuss litter. Paragraph 2, who complained about the litter, what was said about the litter, where's the litter, when did this littering happen. Paragraph 3 is going to be a little bit more that it needs to stop because this place, the where, is a problem because people and parents come there, for example. I say for example a lot, I just noticed. And then your final one is the conclusion. What have you decided as a group is going to be the solution to this. This can be your informal report. Now this one is one that they ask almost, if you go back to your older papers, you'll see that there's a lot of Holder-Blake. Holder-Blake is when you write something, a eulogy to somebody who has passed on, or if you want to honor somebody who has done great things in the community. So be very careful, read your instructions. What is it that they want from you? When we look at the example, you'll see this is a death eulogy. Death eulogy. Listen to this. This is a eulogy of somebody who passed on, Tannie Hetty. So you're going to put the person's name at the top. Then you are going to discuss things that is special to you about her. So you're going to say it's a special person. When did she die? What did she die of? How old was she? Where did she live? What do you remember about this person? And then you talk about who she left behind. She left behind her husband, her daughter, and it is going to be a great loss to the community. And then finally just a comfort, saying that you are going to miss this person. So what is important here? The name at the top, details about the person in the first paragraph, but you do it nicely. You don't just mention that she was 59 and she died of cancer. You talk nicely about it, put it in a nice paragraph. What do you remember about the person? So nice fond memories, short and sweet, don't go on too long. And then finally, who does she leave behind? Those are the things you need to focus on for your eulogy. Text C, you'll have dialogue, a written interview, and then a formal and informal toespraak, which is speech. There we go. Okay, so when you look at your dialogue, guys, the dialogue is your friend. Please, 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 if you can, choose the dialogue. I always mark you high on dialogues because you don't make so many mistakes in a dialogue. Okay, so here we go. The most important thing about the dialogue is the name on the side, the lines open, and the fact that there is no inverted commas. Be careful that you don't use everyday language or slang English words, but it can be a little bit more informal depending on what your subject or your topic is about. Let's say you have to go and talk to the headmaster. You're not going to say, hey, ach bra, how are you, or where? Okay, so be careful. Look at what they are asking you, but lines open, no inverted commas, names on the side. Go, go, go. I like this one. Your interview will look very similar to your dialogue, okay? So this one is also a friend. If you have to do an interview with somebody, remember you'll just have to think about what type of questions you would ask the person that you are interviewing. So here's an example of a different way of writing it so that it doesn't look like a dialogue, but I prefer it dialogue fashion. So you will have at the top the person that you are going to interview, a little bit about the person, just like your dialogue, where you have a little scene that you set in the beginning, a paragraph, then the question and the answer, the question and the answer. If you do it dialogue wise, you will have your name and then the question and then a line open, his or her name, and then their answer, line open. The formal and informal speech. Guys, you've done speeches since you can remember. The most important thing about a speech is to have first of all, never swear, ever. It's never acceptable, don't swear, even if it's an informal speech. But it's all about your introduction being something that would really grab your attention of your audience. It is the detailed explanation of your topic, the talking about it, the discussion, and then your final closing paragraph needs to be something that takes everything into account and leaves them with something to think about. So here, most important, introduction, body, conclusion. You can have a greeting at the top, you can have a thank you at the bottom. That is really not something you have to stress about format-wise, as long as you have paragraphs, introduction, body, conclusion. So if you look at this paper, for example, and you listen to Mommy Teacher, Mrs. Alberts, then you are going to have the options informal letter, CV and dekbrief, tydskrifartikel, informele toespraak. There are two here that I will beat you if you do it. If you have no other option, fine, I will forgive you. But CV and dekbrief, no, no, no. Tydskrifartikel, no, no, no. Informele toespraak, that is safe. Informele brief, that is safe. Good luck, guys. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if you've got any questions, you can follow me on Instagram at Afrikaans Classroom. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos, like and share.